Part 98. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 971. Chapter 971. Don't read what you shouldn't read. By the way, I went to deliver snacks to my father yesterday and saw the list of officials. My father is going to give officials to the new scholars. The third princess took credit with a happy expression. I secretly took a look at the roster. Do you want to know where your eldest brother and the others have been assigned to serve as officials? No, Ji-yin said with a smile, not being fooled. They have learned all their skills just to serve the country and be loyal to the emperor. The emperor can arrange them wherever they go, and our family has no objection. Oh, you are too boring, echo me, you can use less meat, the third princess scolded and stamped her feet angrily. Ji-yin has been with her for so long and knows her temper very well. If you don't ask further questions at this time, the third princess can say more. Sure enough, the third princess started talking like beans from a bamboo tube. Your eldest brother is the #1 scholar and has been given a 6th grade official position. He is scheduled to go to the southwest to become a county magistrate. It seems to be very close to the Liu family, so I'm not afraid that he will be bullied there. Your 6th brother is of the 7th grade and was left in a small county more than 300 miles southeast of our new capital. There is also Beizu, her brother, who was left in Honglu Temple and is also of the 7th grade. Hearing the good news, I breathed a sigh of relief. The appointment was as expected by the family, and no one paid much attention to it, but no one interfered secretly. This was the best result. She asked smoothly, what about Brother Liu? He must be staying in Zindu, right? After all, you have to prepare for the wedding. The third princess blushed and replied, he was left by his father to study in the Hanlin Academy, but he was given a 5th rank official. He is the highest among the new scholars, higher than your eldest brother. Repair books? Ji-yin frowned slightly, remembering that when his brothers talked loudly and were high-spirited, Brother Liu was also the most insightful one among them. Now, for the rest of his life, he will have to stay in his room and study every day. He will not be too happy. But in the final analysis, this is not her biological brother, and his future has nothing to do with her. She put the thought behind her and entered the house with the third princess. Soon, Shui Ling went home and picked up the reluctant little fox, and Highland Palace returned to its usual bustle. The little palace maid secretly took some dried meat and stuffed it and secretly fed it to the little fox. If anyone is favored by the little fox and is lucky enough to give her a bath and comb her hair, that will be enough to make all the little sisters envious and jealous for a long time. 2 days later, Ji-yin heard that the imperial edict and the Ministry of Officials had issued an official document, so he hurriedly left the palace and went home to take a look. The weather is fine, and the trees on both sides of the imperial palace road are green, and the shade of the trees is falling, which is very cool and comfortable. The little fox was too lazy to walk, so he lay in Ji-yin's arms, waiting for his master to take him out of the palace. Ji-yin scolded it smoothly, you are getting fatter and lazier with food. Now you don't even want to walk. If your legs degenerate in the future and you encounter bad people, you won't be able to run anymore. Let's see what you do. The little fox squinted his eyes and let out a lazily cry, not sure whether it was coquettishness or protest. Shui Ling took a few steps and was about to take the little fox when the little fox suddenly raised his head and looked at a corner warily. Ji-yin, Shui Ling, and Shui Yun quickly looked over, but they could only see a back figure, which disappeared in a flash. The little fox jumped up and was about to run over. Ji-yin pulled it away and pushed it back into his arms. Shui Ling blinked and asked in a low voice, Princess, I seem to see. Shut up, Ji-yin interrupted her and whispered, you haven't seen anything, and don't tell anyone. When you see this person in the future, you have to pretend you don't know him, you know. Shui Ling was stunned. He was stunned and wanted to speak, but Shui Yun covered his mouth again. Princess, I will keep an eye on the water, don't worry. Ji-yin nodded, hugged the little fox and walked ahead. Shui Yun let go of Shui Ling and glared at her. "I'll tell you in the evening." Shui Ling shrank her neck. She also knew that she had been rash just now. The master must have some concerns to prevent her from talking. But she didn't suppress her curiosity. She really had no rules. The three masters and servants quickly left the corridor and arrived at the entrance of the palace. Muju, who was secretly following them, turned around and quickly sneaked into the palace. In the Earl's mansion, everyone had returned from Broken Gold Beach a long time ago, and they were very happy because they had just received two official documents. Jiaran is located in Fengshan County, which is thousands of miles away. It is only 100 miles away from the border. It can be said that it is right under the nose of the Liu family. Brother Li was assigned to Qingming County. Although it was 300 miles away from home, compared with Fengshan County in Jiaran, it was not that far away. Li Lauer patted his son and looked at his nephew, his eyes full of joy. The Li family can finally be said to have established a firm footing, with their son and nephew having real jobs as herdsmen. In 10 years' time, the Li family's place in the court will surely shine. At that time, he will no longer be alone. He can be laughed at by others for not having real talent and learning. He relied on his family to get his current official position, but his son and nephew are not. Okay, from now on, you will also be an official from one parent. Always remember that you are a child from a peasant family. Don't let down the high expectations of the people, and you must be a good official. Yes, Dad. Jiaran quickly saluted in response, and Brother Li followed suit. Second uncle, I also noted it down. Everyone was smiling, but they couldn't help but feel a little uneasy in their hearts. Jiaran is just fine, he has a stable temperament and is not too young, but Brother Li is really a bit immature. If he were an ordinary child, he would still be studying in college. But this boy was lucky enough to follow his elder brother and get admitted as a jinchi. In a few days, I will go out to serve as an official. What if I encounter those treacherous squires and wealthy households who bully Brother Li, who is young and ignorant? Thinking like this, Li Lao-san, who rushed back after hearing the news, said, "Second brother, we must bring more reliable manpower to Brother Li. We don't want to get any benefits in Qingming County, at least we can't let our children be plotted by others." Li Lao immediately responded, "I think so too. Bring more of the veteran guards at home to Brother Li. Bring a few reliable young couples in the village. As for the capable stewards, you still have to write to the eldest brother. Let the elder brother arrange it. I will go to Liu's house again, meet Mr. Liu, and ask him to help find a suitable master to help with official affairs. I must ensure that Brother Li has passed his 3-year term first. By then, it will be good if he has experience done." Warner also interjected and said, "The court has given me half a month's leave. During this time, I will work hard to prepare the luggage for my husband and my 6th brother." "Okay, thank you for your hard work." Li Lao nodded, extremely satisfied with this virtuous daughter-in-law. Jiyan was sitting among his brothers, and he quickly said, "Second uncle, third uncle, and old Uncle Hay have walked through Southwest several times. It happens that they are also in the village now. Why not let them, my eldest brother, to take office, and then bring me some medicinal materials and local products along the way." End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 972. Chapter 972, The Source of Chaos. That's great, having an acquaintance to lead the way will save a lot of trouble on the way. Li Lauer agreed unceremoniously. This was not the time to give in casually. After all, there were so many dangers on the 1,000-mile road and the high mountains. At this time, it is important to ensure that the son arrives safely. Jia 11 and Jian listened on the side, also for the sake of their brothers. Since the two of them couldn't go too far, Jian said, "We can't send my eldest brother to his appointment, but we can send him a gift to celebrate the Ming dynasty. It's time to go out and relax. Unfortunately, Li Lao waved his hand and extinguished their thoughts of traveling with one sentence. You also need to prepare your luggage. I'm afraid you will have to return to Quanzhou before Jiaran and others set off. There has been news in the court that the envoy will leave Beijing in 10 days at most. Jiaxi and Jian were a little frustrated. Jiaxi muttered, "Hey, I thought we brothers could hang out together again." Brother Cat gloated and shouted, "Haha, fourth brother, don't worry about it. I have nothing to do. I'll see off sixth brother for you. I promise to have a good time and write to you later." His arrogant look made all the brothers look at him. One of them was so angry that he slapped him in the face and ruffled his bun. He looked as embarrassed as a madman. Brother Cat felt aggrieved and went to his sister's side to act coquettishly. "Sister, look, they are all bullying me. You are really more naughty than Yuan. If you don't punish me, who will you punish?" Jiyan smiled and pulled her brother to sit down. Then she took out a silver comb from her sleeve and quickly tied her brother's hair into a bun and inserted a hairpin. Brother Cat shook his head and started to show off again. "Oh, whose family does such a handsome young man belong to? Please introduce him to a good girl." Everyone was made to laugh by him, and even if they were a little sad about parting, they all ran away in an instant. Li Lao-san went back to the village to pick someone up for his nephew, while Li Lao went to visit Liu's house as a guest. Brother Cat was thinking about his brother's good things, so he pestered Brother Li to go to the study room to open boxes and sort out old things. Jiaxi and Jian ran to watch the excitement, and picked up their son and nephew to play together. Jiaran just noticed that his daughter-in-law looked wrong, and now he led her back to the house. "Waner, is there something on your mind? Can you tell me about it?" Waner's eyes were red and she tried her best not to shed tears, but she still didn't succeed. "Husband, I'm really worried about you going to such a far-away place to take up the post, so I want to go with you. But here at home, if I also leave, only my father will be left alone, and there will be no one to take care of the food and daily life, and there will be no one to take care of my sister. What if my sister is wronged in the palace and cannot tell her family, and I am not here?" Jiaran felt distressed and quickly hugged his wife in his arms, jokingly admonishing, "So that's what happened. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Why did you put yourself in such a difficult position? I had planned it before, not to take you with me when I took office. Go with the kids." Waner immediately raised her head, her eyes full of anxiety and reluctance. "How can you do it when you have traveled thousands of miles and there is no one around you to take care of your food, clothing? She bit her lip and struggled in her heart for a long time before saying, "It really can't be done. Can you accept a roommate?" "What are you talking about?" Jiaran was startled and shouted in a low voice, "It's not like you don't know that there are rules in the family that prohibit us brothers from taking concubines. Strife between wives and concubines, and disagreement between concubines and concubines, are the source of chaos in the family. I am the eldest son and grandson, how can I not follow the rules and ruin the unity of the family? Besides, we have a deep relationship as husband and wife, and you have worked hard to take care of the family in the past few years. How could I hurt your heart just for the sake of convenience? Don't mention this again." Waner cried even more urgently, but this time she was moved and happy. She is not afraid of the hard work or the difficulties and obstacles ahead, as long as her husband treats her sincerely and always sees her efforts in his eyes. Jiaran looked for a veil, wiped his wife's tears, and said, "It's my fault that I didn't make it clear just now. I planned to let you stay at home while I went to work alone. In the autumn, I have established a foothold in Fengshan County. By then the situation in Xindu has been decided. Grandma and aunts will come back, and you can go and reunite with me. My sister's caravan travels out all the year round. It's not difficult for Uncle He and the others to make one more trip to Fengshan." Waner's eyes lit up when she heard this, and her face slowly turned red. The matter that she had been struggling with for a long time was actually solved by her husband with just a few words. Fortunately, she couldn't sleep these days. "I didn't know you were planning this," I thought. Jiren couldn't help laughing and responded, "Okay, ask me in advance next time. If you have any difficulties, we will find a solution together. You are my wife, and I will never abandon you and make you sad." "Okay." Wana rarely took the initiative to hug Jiren and whispered, "I will quickly send someone to send a letter to my mother." She even mentioned this to me during the last flower viewing party, and she was also so worried that she couldn't eat or sleep well. After saying that, she blushed and hid in a hurry. Jiren smiled helplessly, and then went out to the study to have a look, so that his brothers would not have to divide up all the unique books he had finally collected. Jian returned to his room and had no time to spare. Although Lao Hei and the others were escorting them all the way, preparations must still be made. Zindu looks peaceful and prosperous here, but in fact, it is only 300 or 400 miles away, and it is a completely different scene. The people can only have enough to eat but are not hungry. Life is still difficult. If you want a better life, other than eating more hard, it is a wrong way. Hide a group of people in the deep mountains and forests and rob a passing convoy. This is a good way to make a fortune, as all children know. So, when you go out on a journey, it is the most important thing to bring more life-saving things. Fortunately, for the northern expedition, Genjiazhuang worked day and night to build a lot of weapons. This time, each of Lao Hei and the others are equipped with a set of hand crossbows and 100 poisonous arrows, and that's about it. In addition, medicines for wounds, various pills for treating wind-cold, dysentery, and antipyretic pills, medicinal powders for detoxifying snake venom, preventing miasma, and repelling mosquitoes are also required. To make a poor family rich, it does not mean that you should bring more money with you on the road, but also that all kinds of materials should be as abundant and comprehensive as possible. After all, at the critical moment, you may be able to save a life. So busy, by the time I have some free space, it's already dinner time. Jiyan had dinner with her family. She always felt that there was something missing around her. When she remembered it, she asked Shuiling, "Have you seen Guard Mu?" Shuiling quickly shook her head, "No, did you not come out of the palace?" Jiyan frowned, but didn't ask any more questions. The night gradually deepened, the entire Earl's mansion became quiet, and almost everyone fell asleep. Jiyan felt a little sleepy after walking, so he lit a lamp and sat in front of the window to read a travel journal. This was recommended by Luzon before. It is said that it writes about the landforms and customs of the Southwest in great detail. She planned to take a closer look and prepare more things for her elder brother. Halfway through reading a book, there was sudden movement in the yard. Before Jiyan could look in, the window was suddenly pushed open. A breath of blood rushed towards my face. 2 updates will be sent today. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 973. Chapter 973 The Unspeakable Secret. Jiyan subconsciously raised his arm to trigger the crossbow. Fortunately, Muju shouted in time, "It's me." Jiyan breathed a sigh of relief. When he looked through the light, his face changed with shock. Muju's face was pale, his forehead was bleeding, one arm was twisted unnaturally, and blood drops were falling down from his fingertips. "What's wrong with you? Where are you injured?" Jiyan frowned, quickly walked over to get the medical box, and then took off Muju's coat. Muju subconsciously flashed. Although he had often slept outside for safety reasons and lived in the same room as Jiyan, he had a clear conscience and the two of them were innocent. At this moment, If he takes off his clothes and clothes in front of him, even if the situation is urgent, it will not be good for the reputation of the good news if it is spread. Jian is so smart. You can understand what's going on just by looking at him. She glared angrily, pulled him to her, and said angrily, "You want to die, how long have you been, and you still pay attention to those useless things?" After saying that, she peeled off the dirty outer shirt 3 times, and sure enough, the white sleeves of Muju's inner shirt were soaked in blood. Jian took the scissors and cut off the sleeves, revealing the wounds inside. Muju's entire forearm was covered in blood, and the bones in the middle were directly broken, even revealing white bone stubble, which was extremely scary. "What the did you do? The injury was so severe," Jian was furious. Just looking at him like this made her inhale in pain for Muju. I really don't know how Muju came back with such serious injuries. Muju saw that she even forgot to clean the wound and instead blew air on his arm like a child. Suddenly, he felt a little itchy in his heart. It seemed that everything was awkward, but he felt comfortable everywhere. He coughed twice and replied, "I saw an acquaintance in the palace, so I wanted to catch up to him, but it turned out that someone was secretly protecting that person. Maybe they thought I had malicious intentions, so they fought with me. I couldn't help but be careful. You'll suffer a little loss." "Is this a small loss? It almost cost me my life," Jian cursed and quickly brought water and found a cloth to help clean the blood stains from the wound. Seeing that her light pink sleeves were stained, Muju wanted to say something, but Jian glared back. So, Jian was as busy as a little bee, but he smiled like a black bear who had eaten honey. More than half an hour later, Muju's broken arm was corrected, given medicine to stop the bleeding, wrapped in white cotton, and finally fixed with thin wooden strips and slung over his chest. Even the wound on the head was properly bandaged. Jian finally sat down and breathed a long sigh of relief. Muju felt distressed and grateful. He wanted to say a few soft words, but he said, "Don't you ask me who I saw in the palace." Jian poured 2 glasses of water, pushing one in front of him and drinking the other directly. "No need to ask, I know. And I hope you also forget about meeting that person today and don't tell anyone about it. Otherwise, let alone you, even our family and my adoptive father will be in bad luck, and we won't be able to save you." Muju frowned, thought about it carefully, and then nodded hesitantly. Logically speaking, although he entered the palace to protect the good news and took the title of a secret guard, he was also very familiar with the defenses in the palace. But the people protecting that man today were extremely skilled in martial arts and were ruthless in their attacks, many times more powerful than the secret guards. Even, he did not find such a master beside the emperor. There is only one result, that is, that person is more important than the emperor. In other words, the emperor believes that this person is more precious than his own life. Thinking about the man's age again, he had some vague guesses, and cold sweat slowly dripped down his forehead. Jian was quietly relieved when he saw him like this. She was really afraid that Muju would not listen to her advice and continue to investigate. She would be digging her own grave. "Don't think about it, go and have a rest. Come over and apply the medicine the day after tomorrow. Avoid eating spicy food these days. If you take pills tonight, you may develop a fever. Please be careful. I'll ask Aunt May to make morning and evening medicine for you starting tomorrow morning. Remember to drink it." "Okay, I'll note it down." Muju took the medicine bottle from Jian, grabbed his dirty clothes, and jumped out of the window again. Jian sat in front of the window, enjoying the evening breeze, looking at the moon in the sky. His mind was so confused that he really didn't know what would happen in the future. She didn't want to be as cold-hearted as she had guessed, but she had to be careful. People's hearts were sinister. In the inner courtyard of the palace, under the many eaves, in a quiet side hall not far from the royal study, a young man held a book and read at night by candlelight. Suddenly, the shadow of the candle on the table moved. He raised his head and asked quietly, "Back?" A man in black appeared strangely in front of the table and responded, "This subordinate deserves to die. I didn't catch anyone, I only injured this person." The young man nodded, not blaming anyone, but began to reflect. "Don't blame yourself, I was reckless this time and almost exposed my deeds. What happened today will never happen again in the future. You also remember that if you see that person today, you don't need to pursue it any further. This matter ends here." The man in black was stunned for a moment, then quickly kowtowed, "Yes, master." After saying that, he disappeared in a flash. Leaving the young man to the window, he looked at the moon half hidden in the clouds and sighed softly. The moon yawned and came out of the clouds, looked at the world, and couldn't help but complain. These two really don't like to study. They always watch what they are doing. Muju has been in the Lee family for a long time, and everyone treats him like their own child. Especially since he follows Jiyan day and night to protect her safety, the family members are even more close to him. Seeing that he was injured, everyone was surprised, but when they heard that the wound had been taken care of, they tacitly guessed that he was injured because of some errand that Jiyan asked him to do, so no one asked more questions. This puts Jiyan at the receiving end of the blame. After all, it was Muju who took it upon himself to touch the tiger's butt. But soon, the family no longer had the time to speculate. Sure enough, as Li Laoer said, the court quickly set a date for the envoy to leave Beijing. It was just 10 days later, which was indeed earlier than Jiaran and others. Hence, Wanner and Jiyan not only had to prepare luggage for Jiaran and brother Li, but also prepared things for Jiaxi and Jian to take to Quanzhou. All kinds of brocades that are popular in the new capital, new styles of dresses and jewelry, food at home, fine ornaments brought to the palace by Good News, newly printed books in bookstores, etc. Wanner and Jiyan were so busy that they were overwhelmed. Even Li Lao Er and Li Lao San, Mr. Wen, and Jia Huan came back empty-handed every night, carrying large and small parcels. Even Guo Wenhao got involved and sent a lot of things, half to honor Mrs. Li and half to Mrs. Wen, the master's wife. Of course, Captain Lu also has to bring things for his wife and children, and the village elders are also thinking about Hui Niang, mother and son. Finally, we put it all together, and the big ship that was heavy when it came was still full when it left, and it couldn't even be loaded, so another boat was added. Neither Ai Bei nor Wen Wen want to leave. They haven't lived enough in Broken Gold Beach, nor have they eaten enough food at home, and they can't bear to part with the comfort and warmth of home. Today's update is here. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 974. Chapter 974 Unexpected Variables. Similarly, Wanner and Jiyan are reluctant to part with Ai Bei and Wen Wen. Especially Wanner, who can enter the palace after Good News, and there are also the three princesses, Beizu and other ladies chatting and shopping. She is the only one who is busy with endless household chores every day and works conscientiously for fear of making mistakes. Occasionally, when I have free time, my grandmother and aunt are not around, and there is no one to talk to. But Abe is here, and she has company. Ai Bei has a straightforward temperament and is curious about everything in Tianwu. Wanner seems to have a younger sister. They laugh and eat snacks together, making her lively and happy every day. Now that Ai Bei has left, Jia 11 and Jia An will also leave. In a few days, Jia Ren and brother Li will also go to their posts. Just thinking about how deserted the house would be, Wanner couldn't help but sigh. But there is no banquet in the world that never ends, and no one can stop us from saying goodbye. Fortunately, the separation is because each has a better life. Compared with the busyness of the Li family, everywhere in the city is also extremely lively. This time, the imperial court was preparing to regain Jiangbei. Almost all the new scholars were sent to serve as officials, and most of them were in actual positions. They plan to give them more experience. The new scholars have not left Zindu, and they are all waiting for the good news. Now that the dust has settled, everyone is naturally happy and the celebration banquet continues. The people in the city were also talking a lot and saying a few words happily. Mr. Chu, who lives in the courtyard next to my house, became a county magistrate, but he was so happy that he bought meat for a banquet yesterday, and I also drank a bowl of wedding wine. Ha ha ha, me too, but the person assigned to the post was the nephew of my uncle's third aunt, so I went to give him the gift and treated him like a guest. When his family provided for him to study and they were short of money to buy pens and ink, I helped him with 2 taels of silver. Now I've benefited from it too. This time when I went out to be an official, my son was also asked to be a small steward. He will have no worries in the future. And such a good thing, it's so enviable. That's right, why don't my family have such good relatives? Those who went out to become officials this time became popular, but those who stayed in the new capital were just decorations and had no real power. There's nothing we can do about it. There are too many noble men in Zindu, so it's not the newcomers' turn to come forward. It's not like there's no chance that Tan Hualang will get a 5th grade official position. The 5th rank is indeed very high, but he is also a book repairer, so he is of little use. And if the emperor had not hoped to marry the princess to the Lu family, I am afraid that Tan Hualang would not be able to get such a high rank. That's true. I heard that Prince Lu actually has no talent, but he only chose Tan Hualang because he was favored by the emperor. Sometimes it is said that good looks are an advantage, otherwise he would have fallen into disgrace long ago. That's not necessarily the case. Whether he is truly talented or learned, we can't say nonsense. But the reason why the emperor is interested in Prince Lu as his son-in-law must be because Prince Lu also has outstanding qualities. What's special? Haha, there must be something special, otherwise how could I be a princess? The speaker winked, and it was obvious that there was a little color in his words. The others also laughed, and they were all men. Naturally, everyone was interested in such talk. After the joke was over, everyone dispersed. I don't know who spread the word about this extraordinary thing, so that one day later, when everyone saw Luzon, after cupping their fists and saying congratulations, their eyes inevitably glanced down. Luzon was not a fool and immediately realized something was wrong. So the boy went out for a walk. When he came back, his eyes were red with anger. Luzon was also locked in the study and did not come out all day and night. The servants and stewards of the Lu family were frightened. They were really worried that something would happen to their master, so they had no choice but to run to find reinforcements. The Li family was very busy, so the boy didn't have much to do and rushed directly to Jia's house. Jia Su also heard the rumors and was so angry that he smashed his favorite inkstone. At this moment, when he received a call for help, he rushed to Lu's house with a jar of strong wine and some good vegetables. The door to the study room was forcefully opened by the slaves. Jia Su chased everyone away and walked in. Luzon was sitting in front of the table with disheveled hair, his eyes were blood red and his cheeks were very thin. Jia Su was so distressed that he cried. Why did the high-spirited prince become like this? Brother Lu, you said that you are the queen of the gate, you can't be knocked down by such a trivial matter. If you are angry, we will go out and beat people. Why bother to torture yourself like this? Luzon didn't answer, opened the wine jar, and started drinking. Jia Su quickly grabbed the wine jar and wanted to speak again, but Luzon was already choking and crying, I don't accept it. I studied hard for 10 years, but I was able to be named on the gold medal list because of my strength. Just because I was chosen, I just ordered it Tan Hualang. As a result, everyone said that I was an embroidered straw bag, and I only got on the list because of my outstanding qualities, and I became the prince-in-law. Can my ambition only be used to make women happy? If I like her, that's fine, but I obviously like Brother Lu. Jia Su covered Luzon's mouth, looked around vigilantly, and lowered his voice eagerly to comfort him. Brother Lu, you must not say this nonsense in the future. Be careful for yourself, and also it will bring trouble to your family. Lu Zong shook off his hand and completely lost his mind. Do you want me to be a tortoise for the rest of my life? Do you want me to be scolded as an embroidered straw bag for the rest of my life? Do you want me to live in cold loneliness for the rest of my life? But why can't you give me my beloved girl? As long as she is with you, I will admit it. Why is it the third princess? What kind of prince-in-law? I don't care. Why should you go out to the herdsman and just leave me here, as a puppet, to suffer for the rest of my life? I'm not convinced, I'm not convinced. Jiasu hugged Lu Zong and refused to let go despite him crying. He couldn't help but have red circles in his eyes. He and Lu Zong have been friends for many years. How could he not know what Lu Zong was thinking? But people cannot live just for themselves. Especially for the children of powerful families like them, who have carried the honor and disgrace of the family on their backs since they were young. They always put the family first, and their personal preferences are not worth mentioning at all. Brother Lu, cry. After crying, you still have to live your life as usual. The third princess is also a good girl. You will definitely be able to play the piano and the harp forever. Don't underestimate the importance of repairing books. Once you've repaired it, it will still leave your name in history. Besides, I'm staying in the new capital, and I'll be drinking with you. Lu Zong didn't speak anymore, only tears flowing like a river. No one could see the black mist condensed into hatred in his eyes, which was 3 points thicker than the night outside. In the yard of Li's house in Sujintan, Ji Yin came out of the bath, picked up the book and read it carefully. Shui Ling took a cotton towel to wipe his master's hair. Shui Yun came in with a soothing tea. Seeing this, he quickly took the towel. Shui Ling is careless about his hands and feet. The master's hair is grown black and straight, like black satin, and is covered with bright lights. It would be a pity if a few of them were torn off by the water spirit. Without even raising his head, Ji Yin asked, "Have you checked the box again? Is there anything wrong with it?" "No, princess, everything is indeed ready. Just take it on the boat tomorrow," Shui Yun responded. Shui Ling took a piece of snack and gnawed on it, and couldn't help but interject, "Now that the fourth young master and the others are gone, the house will become deserted again." Ji Yin sighed and closed the book, but suddenly there was an ouch. Today's update is here. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 975. Chapter 975, After a long journey, we need to say goodbye. Shui Ling hurriedly went to get the medicine box, but was stopped by Ji Yin. "Okay, don't make a fuss, it's just a prick." Ji Yin put her finger into her mouth and sucked it until it stopped bleeding, then said, "Go and have a rest." "It's okay. Go to bed early." Shui Yun and Shui Ling looked at each other, both concerned, but they did not dare to persuade their master. Shui Yun said, "Princess, drink a few sips of the soothing tea before going to sleep. You have been too busy these days. If you don't sleep well at night, your health will be affected. I know, you too, especially Shui Ling, don't eat too many snacks before going to bed, or you may get rotten teeth." Ji Yin waved her hand. Shui Ling and Shui Yun responded and retreated. The room was quiet for a moment. Ji Yin held his chin, a little distracted. She always felt unlucky after seeing the blood just now. But the news from the north the day before yesterday stated that the northern expedition went smoothly without any problems. At home, the fourth brother and the fifth brother have both received satisfactory errands and are about to take the fourth sister-in-law and the child back to Quanzhou. Quanzhou has an uncle who is in charge of the outside world, and there are grandma and mother in the house, so everything goes well. Soon, the eldest brother and the sixth brother are also going to take up their posts, and they are envied by everyone. No matter what you think, there seems to be no variables. What could possibly go wrong? Muju was outside the window, watching Ji Yin's figure reflected on the window paper, but no one answered when he knocked on the window. He felt a little anxious, so he gently opened the window. The girl's soft side face was illuminated by the dim candlelight, and the sadness on her eyebrows was like a haze, making people want to reach out and help her dispel it immediately. "What's going on? What's making you worried?" Muju asked, holding onto the windowsill with his uninjured arm, and jumped in. Ji Yin regained his composure, got up and got the medical box, and said casually, "It's nothing serious, I just miss my father and adoptive father, and I don't know how the war is going." Muju felt relieved. He rolled up his loose sleeves skillfully and said with a smile, "The Marquis has experienced hundreds of battles and slaughtered barbarians like chickens and ducks. Don't worry. The second batch of military rations was just sent out yesterday, and it was in full quantity. Your second uncle and the others were all watching it personally, and no one dared to do anything wrong." Ji Yin looked better after hearing this, and his men quickly changed Muju's dressing. With sharp eyes, Muju grabbed her finger and asked, "Why are there blood spots here? Are you injured?" Ji Yin was burned by the warmth of his palm, and she quickly broke away. She blushed and said, "I accidentally pricked her. It's already healed." Muju coughed twice and felt a little at a loss. Concern makes people confused. Just now, he seemed to have lost etiquette when he was anxious. He quickly changed the subject. "The fourth young master and the fifth young master will go back to Quanzhou tomorrow. Will General Li Yong come back to see them off?" "I will definitely come back," Ji Yin replied, lowering her head and arranging the cotton belt. "Uncle Daong loves my fourth and fifth brothers very much. They were naughty when they were young, and many gadgets were made by Uncle Daong. And my master, he and his children are both in Quanzhou, and Uncle Daong is also thinking about him." Muju nodded and said with a smile, "In the past, General Li Yong followed us on the northern expedition. This time, General Zhang Cheng will accompany us. He will guard the camp. I'm afraid it will be very boring." Yes, Uncle Daong's previous dream was to be the best craftsman in Tianwu and build the best pavilions in Tianwu. Later, he had no choice but to join the army. Unexpectedly, he has made it all the way to now and has become an outstanding general again. Ji Yin talked about this. There is also some emotion. Muju was curious and asked a few questions. The good news was not hidden from him. After all, many people in Zindu knew about it. After listening to this, Muju admired Li Yong even more. General Li Yong is really good, that's how it should be. If you can't act freely in your life, what's the difference between walking among the dead? What's more, his family members don't really love him, they just regard him as the prosperity of the family. Just a boost. Don't say this in front of Uncle Daong. No matter how bad those people are, they are still his blood relatives, Ji Yin warned. Muju shrugged and replied, "Don't worry, I'm not stupid, so I won't talk nonsense. Sometimes I still think, it would be better if one of my tribesmen is alive, even if he is poor and gambles, at least for me, is also a thought." As he spoke, his brows and eyes looked a little lonely. Ji Yin quickly said, "The fleet will be sent off tomorrow. I plan to go to the town of Luoan with my eldest brother. Then we will go to see Luoan Academy together. Okay, I need to grow my arm a little bit, but if nothing else, I can still do the job of driving a car." Muju agreed with a smile, and the matter was settled. Early on the next morning, everyone in the village, young and old, got up early and gathered at the entrance of the village. Jiaxi's family of 3 and Jian had breakfast and left the house. When they saw this, they all quickly saluted. Ai Bei was also surprised when he saw villagers from several other villages arriving one after another. Ji Yin held her hand and said with great reluctance, "Sister-in-law fourth, when I have the opportunity in the future, I will go to the Golden Buddha Kingdom to find you. You must take me everywhere to play." "Okay, sister, you must go early. Our Golden Buddha has many interesting places, the food is delicious, and there are more fruits, Abe agreed. She really likes this sister-in-law and treats her like a sister. Warner also told Abe, you and your children have all the things you and your children like to eat and use. Don't wrong yourself on the way. When you meet your grandma and aunts in Guangzhou, remember to bring them letters and boxes. Even if you go back to the Golden Buddha from now on, don't forget to send news to your family if you like anything, my sister-in-law will ask the fleet to take it to you. Okay, sister-in-law, thank you. Abe hugged Warner and thanked her sincerely. She had also seen a lot of intrigues between sisters-in-law at the Golden Buddha, and after arriving in Guangzhou, she heard this kind of gossip a lot. But the Li family was completely different. Her sisters-in-law really took care of her. She was extremely lucky to be the granddaughter-in-law of the Li family. She was even happier when she thought that there would be a formal entrance ceremony after returning to Guangzhou. Finally got out of the village, far away, and everyone in the carriage could still see the villagers waving vigorously at the entrance of the village. Jiaxi and Jian both looked gloomy. When I was young, I longed for a bigger and broader world outside. When they went out, they discovered that this small village had become a place they dreamed of, a hometown they wanted to return to no matter when they were happy or sad. The envoys from the 8 countries left Beijing, which would inevitably lead to another big move. Not only did many people come to the new capital, but the imperial court also sent many officials, showing hospitality and enthusiasm, and fully demonstrating the magnanimity of a country with etiquette. After the fleet slowly rowed out of the port and the onlookers dispersed, the port finally returned to calm. Jiaran, Brother Li, and Brother Cat rode in a carriage. Jiyan took Shuiling and Shuiyun into another car, and Muju drove towards the small town of Luowan. Today is Mr. Tang's birthday, and Jiaran, a disciple, wants to celebrate his birthday. Secondly, Jiaran and Brother Li have been studying in Luowan for many years and will take office in the future. If they have no chance to come back, they plan to go around and say goodbye properly. Mr. Tang liked Jiaran very much. When he heard that he was coming, he greeted him with a few old friends and left. As a result, Mr. Tang's expression changed after just one glance. Today's update is here. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 976. Chapter 976 Lost and Found. Why does this kid look familiar? Mr. Tang raised his finger and pointed at Muju, his eyes full of doubts and eagerness. He tilted his head, as if he was thinking hard about something. Unfortunately, he is old and has too many memories. It is particularly difficult to find a certain paragraph suddenly. Muju also frowned, and after a while he asked, is the old gentleman's hometown Mujiabao, Linzhou Prefecture, Jiangbei? Yes, yes, Mr. Tang nodded eagerly and asked loudly, are you 8 pounds, right? Everyone was confused, and couldn't help but laugh because of the nickname Bajani R. Muju also blushed a little, but was more excited. He took 2 steps forward and responded loudly, third uncle, it's me. Oh, Bajinur, you look so much like your father. Mr. Tang stumbled forward and grabbed Muju, tears streaming down his face. It's great that you are alive, that's great, wow, I have asked so many people to find the whereabouts of my clan members, but they all say that you are dead and not a single one of you is alive. It's great that you are still alive, great. Mr. Tang's beard was trembling with excitement, and he was about to faint at the sight. Everyone was so shocked that they rushed forward to comfort him. Mr. Tang, calm down. It's a good thing for relatives to reunite. That's right, today is your birthday, this is the best birthday gift. Let's go into the room and talk slowly. Yes, yes, come in quickly. Mr. Tang was coaxed back, grabbed Muju and walked into the house. Muju only had time to give Jiyan a look, and Jiyan nodded to reassure him. Soon, everyone cheered into the house, leaving the Lee brothers and sisters walking behind. Jiaran asked his sister in a low voice, "What's going on with Muju? Isn't he an orphan?" Jiyan shrugged and replied with some helplessness, "I don't know either. He was arranged by his adoptive father to come to our home. His background must be fine. As for the rest, I can't say, let's hear it first." Jiaran nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Mr. Tang originally planned to stay in the academy for more than half a year and then leave. He was extremely famous and was a guest wherever he went. "But I am getting older, my health has not been very good these past 2 years, and I can no longer bear the bumps on the road." In addition, he met Jiaran, a good disciple who was very talented and practiced calligraphy hard. He treated him even more thoughtfully. As a result, he never left the academy and even taught a calligraphy class in the academy. On weekdays, small tasks such as washing and sweeping are taken care of by book boys. 3 meals a day are served to the table in the Lee family canteen. Fruits and vegetables are available all year round, and you can eat whatever is fresh, so your life is quite comfortable. At this time, everyone sat down to serve tea. Mr. Tang also calmed down and began to ask about Mujiabao. Muju naturally could not tell the details. He only said that all his clan members were killed by the barbarians, his parents and uncles were all killed, and the Marquis led troops to the north to rescue him. Mr. Tang had to cry again and regretted it. Muju's grandfather was his eldest brother. When he was young and frivolous, he was arrogant about his talent and did not want to take scientific examinations, let alone get married and be controlled by the family, so he made a big fuss, changed his name, and traveled around the world. Finally, he has made such a big name and is getting old, so he plans to return to his roots. But the barbarians also broke through the border, and Jiangbei was lost. It can only be said that gods will play tricks on people, and things in the world are unpredictable. In the past 2 years, he didn't know how many nights he couldn't sleep. He wanted to wipe his neck and go to Jiquan to apologize to his ancestors. As long as he sets up a family outside and has children, the incense of the Mu family will not be cut off. Fortunately, God, there is still a grandnephew alive. When I left home, I was a naughty boy of 4 or 5 years old. Now he is in his prime. Ba Jinner, no, what name did your family give you? Mr. Tang finally remembered to estimate his grandnephew's reputation and asked the name. Muju quickly responded, "My grandfather died of illness 9 years ago. Before he closed his eyes, he named me Ju." Muju, what a good name, Mr. Tang was full of praise. He was so pleased with this single seedling of the Mu family. The sedan chair was carried by everyone, and naturally others also praised it, making Mr. Tang cry and laugh sometimes. In the end, it was Dean Zhou who spoke and the banquet was finally served. Since Mr. Tang didn't have any female relatives here, so he couldn't keep good news for a long time, so he stepped forward to give Mr. Tang a junior gift and a birthday gift, and then said goodbye and left. Jiaran and brother Li stayed to drink. Naturally, brother Mao wanted to go shopping with his sister. As a result, seeing the good news was about to leave, Muju became a little anxious and wanted to say goodbye together. Mr. Tang longed to tie his lost grandnephew to his belt, but he would not let him go. "Brother Ju, where are you going? This will be your home from now on, uncle and grandpa still have a lot to say to you." After that, he turned to Jiaran and said, "Jiaran, is brother Jui's household registration in your family? Today, the old man is asking for a favor from you. Let brother Jui be free and allow him to come back to me and support our Mu family home portal, how about it?" Jiaran frowned, guessing that the old gentleman regarded Muju as a servant of the Li family. If it were anyone else, he would really be able to make the decision, but Muju cannot. First of all, Muju was arranged by the Marquis. Secondly, Muju is his sister's personal guard, and he is needed to take care of his sister's safety both inside and outside the palace. He could not agree to give away his sister's men anyway. His mind was spinning in circles, and just as he was about to speak, Muju interrupted him. "Third uncle, I am not a servant of the Li family. I am the guard of the Xintingho mansion. Before the expedition to the north, the Marquis asked me to protect the safety of the princess. I cannot stay away from the princess easily. Third uncle will celebrate his birthday first. In a few days I'll definitely come visit again when I have some free time." "How can that be done?" Mr. Tang became even more anxious after hearing this, and shouted without any regard for reason, "No matter whose house guard you are part of our Mu family. You stay here first, and wait for the Marquis to come back." I went to beg for help with him, but he couldn't help but give me this face. Jiyan frowned. She originally wanted to persuade Muju, but she became a little unhappy after hearing what Mr. Tang said. "What's wrong with you Mu family? Who are you more noble than?" Without the help of his adoptive father, Muju died, and the Mu family would have been cut off long ago. "Who are you showing off to? He also said that I can't afford to give you this face. The home mansion expects you to live." Muju glanced at Jiyan and saw that her expression was not good, so he immediately said, "Third uncle, please let go of your hand first. My arm is broken and I can't bear the pull." "Frozen bones." Mr. Tang was startled and immediately let go of his hand. Muju took the opportunity to take 2 steps back, and then he said, "Third uncle, if I hadn't been rescued by Lord Marquis, I would have died in Jiangbei a long time ago. The most important thing for a man to walk in heaven and earth is the word faith. Since I made a promise to the Marquis, I must keep it. As for the future, let's wait until the Marquis comes back." "Brother Ju," Mr. Tang was a little angry, looking at Muju like he was looking at a naughty boy who wanted to beat him but was reluctant to do so. Muju ignored him, bowed his head in salute, then turned away and stood next to Jiyan. Today's update is here. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 977. Chapter 977 An unexpected encounter with an old friend. Brother Cat winked at his brothers, and then quickly chased after them. After leaving Mr. Tang's yard, Jiyan went straight to the canteen. After several years of renovation, the canteen is now much more spacious than before. The shed that originally sold milk tea has been renovated into 3 quiet rooms, 1 for operating and storing ingredients, and 2 with tables and chairs for students to chat while drinking. There is a flower garden outside the window, and the windows inside the house are bright and clean. The decoration is simple and elegant, which is very popular among students. Xiaoyu did not follow her master to Quanzhou, but stayed behind to take care of the business of the milk tea shop and take care of the small courtyard. Seeing the good news coming, she was so happy that she picked him up from afar and invited Good News to the house to drink juice. Brother Mao Lily also ordered a drink, but Muju licked her dry lips and did not dare to speak. The Good News is also treated as if it has not been seen. She knew it wasn't Muju's fault just now, but she couldn't help but express her anger. Originally, her adoptive father arranged for Muju to be by her side because he planned to be her husband. She was also very close to Muju during this period. She liked that he was unconventional and carefree. As a result, some kind of third uncle suddenly appeared, and it was obvious that he was still the annoying type who took care of everything. Needless to say, all the love buds that seemed beautiful and seemed to be developing smoothly will have to be reconsidered because of this change. Jiyan's current thoughts are all on the northern expedition. After all, this war involves the lives of too many relatives and acquaintances, and it also has a great impact on his family. At this time, she hates all changes, everything that is not within the scope of her expectations. Like a well-used tea bowl, she would try to repair it if it had some cracks, but now she just wanted to smash it, out of sight, out of mind. Xiaoyu has been running business in the past few years and has learned to watch people's emotions. When she sees something is wrong with her masters, she thinks about how to soften it. Fortunately, Li Lao-san heard the news and walked in. Everyone sat together and chatted about the daily trivial matters in the canteen. Li Lao-san was very happy and kept his niece and nephew for dinner, and asked about Mr. Tang's birthday party. The good news is that I'm not happy about the crowd, so I'll feel free to come and have dinner with my third uncle. Li Lao-san is no longer the honest and dull farmer he used to be. He guessed that something was wrong, but he didn't ask any more questions. After everyone had eaten, Ji Yin said hello to the villagers working in the cafeteria, and then left the college. Brother Cat made his sister happy and ran to the end of the street to buy sticky cakes. Muju got the opportunity and hurriedly stepped forward to talk to Ji Yin. "Princess, what happened today was an accident." Ji Yin waved his hand and said, not wanting to say more, "I know it is a happy event for you to be reunited with your clan. Congratulations. As for the rest, we will wait until my adoptive father comes back." Muju has been in the Li family for so long, and what he knows best is Ji Yin's temper. At the age of 10, if placed in other people's homes, she would still be a little girl who only looks at her clothes and jewelry every day. But good news is the same in the Li family. It can be said about Hinton and Earl's mansion. As long as she wants to make the decision, no one in the Li family will stop her. This is because she has intelligence and courage that exceeds that of ordinary girls. Similarly, this also makes her more conceited in many cases, unable to rely on anyone, and unwilling to listen to any explanations or advice. She was unhappy with the attitude that her third uncle had inadvertently revealed just now, and she decisively withdrew some of her thoughts. Muju couldn't help but feel bitter in her heart. Getting a girl's love was as difficult as filling the sea with a pebble, but getting a girl to accept her heart was as easy as a landslide. This made him regret very much. If he had known this, he should not have come here today anyway. What about third uncle Grandpa? He doesn't care about it at all. Not to mention a selfish ghost who has been away from home for many years and has done nothing to help the family or himself. Even if his own grandfather comes back from the dead, he cannot interfere in his life or dictate to him. Brother Cat came back with sticky cakes, and Ji Yin ate 4 or 5 pieces in one go, and then returned to the small courtyard. Zhao Yuru went to Quanzhou, and Wenjuan and her children were not there either. Li Lao-san lived in the cafeteria most of the time. Even if Xiaoyu often came back to clean, the small courtyard still showed a hint of decay and desolation. Recalling the lively time they spent here when they were children, Ji Yin and Cat Brother rolled up their sleeves and fetched water themselves to wipe everything clean. So much so that when Jiren and Brother Li came to find them, they praised their younger brothers and sisters. When he was about to go out and get on the carriage, the door to the yard next door suddenly opened, and a girl about the same age as Ji Yin came out, followed by a smart little girl. Perhaps she didn't expect that there was someone outside, so the girl was startled. When she was about to avoid it, she stopped again and asked proactively, "But, Princess Kangol?" Ji Yin looked over and looked at it carefully. The girl is not tall, slightly fat, and not very beautiful, but she is also Xiaojiabiu, and her skin is very white, which makes her a little more cute. A hint of familiarity between her eyebrows made her search for a name in her memory. Nanan smiled, saluted again, and said, "Thank you, Princess, for remembering my name." Ji Yin nodded and wanted to say something. After all, she had met Nanan when she first came to this world, and the two families were somewhat destined. It's a pity that a wet nurse ruined this fate completely. Now that we meet, I feel a little embarrassed and don't know what to say. Nanan obviously knew this, so she spoke again, "Thank you so much for the money you gave me back then to support me when I grew up. Nanan is grateful in my heart. In addition, the wet nurse died of illness 3 years ago in Zhuangzi. I also got engaged last month and will get married next year." A few sentences, but a lot of information. Jiyan thought about it for a while and then said, "I hope you are happy and have a beautiful family." "Thank you." Princess Nanan bowed her head and saluted, then slowly retreated to the courtyard and closed the door. Jiyan also got on the carriage, and Muju was about to jump on the shaft, but Jiren called him to join the carriage. Zhenyi gave him a wishful look, and then took the riding whip. The two carriages rushed all the way to Zindu and returned directly to the Earl's mansion. When getting out of the car, Jiyan glanced at Muju and saw that he was a little haggard, so he went back to the backyard without saying anything. When Wan'er took it out, she thought her sister-in-law was tired, so she asked her to have a good rest. She also asked Zhao Jian to send a piece of bird's nest porridge to her sister-in-law. Jiaren said a few words to Wan'er, then called his two younger brothers into the study. Almost as soon as he entered the door, Cat brother shouted, "Master Ho is too much, why did he just agree to let my sister go out so casually?" Brother Li also frowned and responded, "My sister hasn't even had hair extensions yet, so it's really too early to start thinking about marriage." Jiaren served tea to his brothers and said something fair, "I guess the Marquis is afraid that the appointment will be late and someone will use my sister's marriage to plot against our family. Our sister, we know best. Fu Niuer seems to be well behaved and sensible, but in fact, she has different thoughts in her heart from all girls. If we really find her a husband like a son of a noble family, those rules alone will bore her to the extreme. Muju is an orphan, has no family ties, has a free and unruly temperament, and has martial arts to defend himself. If he truly loves his sister and loves her, he will be a good match for her. It's just that no one expected that Mr. Tang is actually an elder of the Mu family." Brother Li and Brother Cat sighed after being persuaded. Brother Cat irritably drank the tea and asked, "What should we do now? Mr. Tang doesn't want to interfere with Muju and his sister, right?" Today's update is here. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 978. Chapter 978 Common Problems Among Men. If you interfere, interfere. Our Li family's baby is still worried about finding a good husband. Without Muju, there are still Zhangju and Liju. Without him, there are no good men in the world. Brother Li, his tone was also bad. As long as he thought that his sister would be disliked and looked down upon, he wanted to kill someone. Jiaren waved his hand and persuaded, "In the end, even the elders in our family don't know about this matter. The 3 years agreed between the Marquis and Muju is for my sister to test whether he is worth entrusting him with his life, and it is also for our family to see Muju. How you behave as a person. Now that 3 years have not come, nothing matters. To say the least, it's just a marriage agreement. Mr. Tang is just an uncle, so he may not interfere with Muju's marriage. He might raise his hands in approval." This makes sense. Brother Li and Brother Cat didn't say any more. After all, things haven't happened yet, so you have to think about the good things. As a result, before they left the study, Muju knocked on the door. "Well." Muju, who usually looked cynical, now had a rare look of embarrassment on his face. He whispered, "Young master, someone from the academy asked me to come over. I thought uncle, he is not in good health and wants to see me." Brother Li and Brother Mao stood up at that time, but were pulled back to sit down by Jiaren. Jiaren responded calmly, "Go, it's getting late. If you can't make it back in time, it doesn't matter if you just stay one night." "Thank you, young master," Muju saluted while holding his injured arm, and finally said, "Don't worry, young master, I will make it clear to my third uncle. I am the only one who has the final say on how I want to live my life, and no one else can put one's oar in. Jiren nodded and his face softened a little. Everything happens as it happens. Our Li family never forces anyone to do anything. Naturally, you don't need to make it difficult. Young master is joking, if you don't embarrass me, I definitely won't embarrass you. Muju laughed dryly, and then quickly retreated. He breathed a long sigh of relief, and felt more and more that this matter should be dealt with as soon as possible. Jiyan was originally the treasure of the Li family. He racked his brains but couldn't think of a good way to make his uncles happy and leave his sister to him. The only thing we can do is to work hard, treat the good news sincerely, and hope that they will see it. Unexpectedly, such an incident happened suddenly and all the efforts were in vain. Jiren stopped the news, and the good news was in the backyard. He had no idea that Muju had been called away by Mr. Tang. Shui Ling and Shui Yun cannot be said. So Jiyan ate bird's nest porridge, became impatient and locked himself in the room, and then entered the space. The family has been living better these past few years, and we no longer rely on eating rabbits for food. In addition, those rabbits who have made great contributions are also getting old. Therefore, last year, good news had set them free and sent them to the mountains and forests to go to the wider world. Even the little goat was sent to the village's flock. Now he has found a partner, given birth to a child, and is happy. The only ones left in the small space courtyard are a few geese, a dozen chickens, and 7 or 8 pigs, just in case of emergencies. Seeing the good news coming in, the chickens, geese, and pigs all started to scream, and they were all aggrieved. Jiyan quickly went to the back garden to pull out some cabbage, chopped it casually, mixed it with cornmeal and poured it into the trough. The chickens, geese, and pigs were gagged and immediately fell silent. The little green snake banged against the cage desperately in order to attract the owner's attention. On weekdays, the little fox often whips the cage like a spinning top, and the rope hanging the cage has long been worn out. At this moment, Sue couldn't bear the impact and actually fell to the ground with a thud. Jiyan thought for a while, then stepped forward to pick up the cage. Seeing the little green snake rolling its eyes and smashing it to pieces, Jiyan couldn't help but laugh. When this guy was first caught, he was always thinking about avenging his partner, baring his teeth, how arrogant he was. Now that he has been imprisoned for 10 years, the good snake and poison king has been kneaded into noodles and is as soft as noodles. It can be seen that time is a terrible thing. No, it should be said that the little fox is more terrifying. Sanjo was dancing and eating grapes under the vine, but when he heard his master coming in, he didn't even care. Now that it had eaten and drank enough, it ran over and circled around its master's legs. It even didn't forget to kick the cage. The little green snake just recovered a little and made a rolling gourd again. Jiyan was so sympathetic that he picked up the little fox and said, "Santiago, I'm going to let little green out. You can watch it and don't bite chickens, geese, and pigs. Do you understand?" The little fox was a little reluctant, but the little green snake was jumping around in the cage like crazy. Jiyan was amused and then opened the cage door. Freedom is right in front of you, but the little green snake can't believe it. It tentatively stretched out the tip of its tail and swept it on the ground, then bolted out like lightning and quickly disappeared into the vegetable field. The little fox chirped twice and quickly chased after him. Jiyan ignored the 2 naughty boys and went to pick grapes with a basket. Then he squeezed the grape juice for himself and added ice cubes. The sweet and cool grape juice is swallowed, and all the irritability in my heart is extinguished. You are in your prime years, you are young, it is too late to enjoy the sunshine and delicious food, so why should you get caught up in some messy love affairs? Jiyan knocked himself hard twice, regained his sobriety, and ran to the front yard to empty his small treasury. This time the 4th brother and the 5th brother came back, but they brought her a lot of good things, which filled her warehouse. I have been accompanying my brother and sister-in-law, so I have no time to tidy up, so I will tidy it up today. Having been busy like this for more than an hour, Ji-Yin finally smiled when he saw the gold and silver treasures piled high, and then went out carrying 2 baskets of grapes. Wanner was coming over to talk to her sister-in-law when she was suddenly stuffed with a basket of grapes. She couldn't help but smile in surprise. "Oh, these grapes grow so well, each one looks like a purple gem. Not only does it look good, but it tastes sweeter and more enjoyable." Ji-Yin smiled and called Shui Ling and Shui Yun to prepare clothes, and then said to her sister-in-law, "Sister-in-law, I will stay in the palace for one night, give grapes to the third princess, and take a look. Find out the news and ask my adoptive father and my father how they are doing in the north." Wanner naturally wouldn't stop her, but she couldn't help but feel sorry for her sister-in-law. "No girl is as sensible as my sister-in-law. There is nothing at home or outside that she doesn't bother with. Go and come back early tomorrow. Your eldest brother and 6th brother are about to leave, so stay with them." "I know." Sister-in-law Ji-Yin changed into a new dress and entered the palace dressed beautifully. The third princess was bored when she suddenly saw the good news of carrying grapes and jumped 3 feet high with joy. "Woo, good news, you finally remembered me. I'm so bored, I can't wait to count the stars to kill my free time." Ji-Yin stuffed her with a big grape and said with a smile, "It seems that you haven't gone to Uncle Wang's private treasury to hunt for treasure these days, otherwise you wouldn't be so boring." The third princess spat out the grape seeds and complained in a low voice, "It's not that you don't know that my father is a kind-faced person. This time when the envoys from the 8 kingdoms left Beijing, he gave back a lot of good things, and the warehouse was quite empty. Now, he feels so distressed that he can't even eat anymore, but I won't let him get into trouble." Can't help but laugh along with the good news. It is a common problem for men to make a swollen face and pretend to be fat, even emperors are no exception. The 2 little sisters finally got together, chatting and talking to each other while eating grapes, but it was much more lively. But in the academy outside the city, the atmosphere in Mr. Tang's study room dropped below freezing. Today's update is here. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 979. Chapter 979 Eat carrots and worry less. Mr. Tang drank the hangover soup and was not drunk at all now. He endured it again and again, but still asked patiently, "Brother Ju, do you know what you are talking about? Everyone in the Mu family is dead now, only me, an old loser, and you are left. If I can marry a wife and have children, I don't need to force you to do anything. But I am over 50 years old and my health is not good. I don't know when I will return to the West. The Mu family can only re-establish their family and prosper again, and it can only fall on you. Think about your dead grandfather, parents, uncles, how could you say such selfish words?" Muju, however, did not waver at all and said seriously, "Third uncle, I have been taught by my grandmother and parents since I was a child. They have never forced me to study and become an official or to shine on my family. They just hope that I can grow up safely and happily and live a free life. Later, when the barbarians broke into the city, they tried their best to protect me and wanted me to survive if they knew better. They definitely didn't want me to live a life of humiliation and compromise." "That's not right." Mr. Tang was anxious and tried to persuade him earnestly, "since you know that you survived because of the protection of your whole family and your life in exchange for your life, you should support your family for them. My grandpa doesn't want to harm you, but he just wants you to marry a dignified and virtuous woman who can wholeheartedly help you to prop up the Mu family and spread its branches. 20 years from now, our Mu family will return to its previous prosperity." It's a pity that no matter what he said, Muju just shook his head and refused to compromise. In the end, Mr. Tang was so angry that he lost his mind and blurted out. Back then, I traveled far away from home because of a woman from the world. I thought I had found a good match for life, but in the end we parted ways. Women are all the same, and it's not worth a man delaying their future for them. If I had listened to my family and married a good wife, I would have had many children and grandchildren now. How could I be begging you, an unworthy descendant, like this? Muju straightened his sleeves and asked with a bit of surprise, my uncle must have liked that woman very much back then? Since he liked her, no matter whether the outcome is good or bad, it is a rare experience in life. Uncle Grandpa, why should I insist on the result and then knock down all the women in the world with one stroke? Furthermore, the princess is extremely intelligent, filial, and reasonable, and has a noble status. Why do you think that she will not be a good wife and support the family of the Mu family with me? I'm tempted now, but I'm not sure I'll be able to move the Li family to part ways and allow the princess to marry my uncle, and Grandpa should help me, so why are you blocking me like this? You're going to make me so angry. Mr. Tang slammed the table and became even more angry when he saw that Muju was not afraid and even had a bit of scorn on his face. Why did you fall in love with Princess Kangol? That girl has been pampered by the Li family and the Marquis since she was a child. Even though she has learned the rules and is sensible, she can't bear the grievances and hardships. How can I help you start a business from scratch and slowly build up the family together? Moreover, you are climbing high, while she is marrying down, and you will be suppressed by her as a woman for the rest of your life. The Li family still has family rules, and they are not allowed to take concubines. You are the only one left in our Mu family. It is time for you to take more concubines, have more children, and continue your family life after marrying a wife. The Li family is powerful. Are you willing to listen to people all your life that you rely on your father-in-law to live? You must listen to me. Even if you marry a legitimate daughter from a declining scholarly family, as long as you are generous and virtuous, you will be better than the coquettish one from the Li family. Women should be good. Hearing this, Muju's face turned cold, and he stood up and said, Third uncle, you can say something bad about me, but don't be disrespectful to Princess Kangol. If we don't talk about our marriage, and we don't even say a word about it, it's settled. You can't just talk to her like that. When my parents and people were slaughtered by the barbarians like cattle and sheep, it was the Marquis who avenged me, a young boy, and sent me to learn martial arts to strengthen my body. After I arrived at the Li family treated me even more considerately. I had no worries about food and clothing, and never neglected me. Even though I am an animal, I still need to be grateful. Speaking of which, third uncle cared so much about the family, why didn't he abandon the family and run away? When the family was slaughtered, where were you? When I was helpless, where were you? But now I have successfully grown into a man who is upright, and you jumped out to tell me how to shine. If you have been so stubborn and can't correct your position, then just pretend that we haven't seen you today, and we can just live our lives in the future. After saying that, he turned around and walked out, striding out of the door. Brother Ju, Mr. Tang rushed to the door, tripped over the threshold and fell to the ground, still shouting, Muju, come back, come back. It's a pity that Muju heard clearly but didn't even look back. The two little book boys hurried forward to help and whispered, Sir, don't be anxious. The young master may not have thought about it. He will definitely come back later. This stubborn boy, why doesn't he understand my painstaking efforts? Mr. Tang looked up to the sky and sighed, I just made the wrong choice back then, so I don't want him to be like me. I will regret it in the future. At this time, the old servant guarding the door came in and asked, Sir, why is the young master gone? Someone was sent from the cafeteria to ask, what dishes do you want for dinner? Mr. Tang's eyes lit up and he quickly ordered, wait for me to wash up. I'm going to the cafeteria. Everyone couldn't help but get busy. Soon, Mr. Tang changed into a brown silk gown and went directly to the canteen. At this moment, the students have already started to eat. Suddenly seeing Mr. Tang coming, they quickly saluted and said hello. Li Lao-san was surprised when he heard the commotion in the back kitchen. He stepped forward to salute and said with a smile, "Mr. Tang, why are you here in person? If you have anything to do, just ask the boy to come and give instructions." Mr. Tang responded, "I have something to say to you. Can you find a secluded place?" Li Lao-san was even more confused, but he still led Mr. Tang to the room where he usually rested. The room was kept very clean, and even when Bairajian came over, 2 pots of flowers were placed on the window sill. At this moment, the flowers are blooming well and the house is full of fragrance. Li Lao-san invited Mr. Tang to sit down, poured him tea with his own hands, and said with a smile, "Sir, today is your birthday. Are you satisfied with the banquet given to you?" A flash of embarrassment flashed in Mr. Tang's eyes, and he quickly responded, "Satisfied, thank you for your hard work. In the past few years, I have troubled you and your family a lot about my food." "What did you say, sir?" "My family's left-hand character needs your guidance. I don't have much else to do, so I can only cook more delicious meals for you. It's convenient to live near the water and the terrace woolen cloth." Li Lao-san smiled, looking very honest. Mr. Tang sighed inwardly, his mouth becoming increasingly unable to open. He has taught many students over the years. Although everyone is good and treats him with respect, there are only so many people who are as considerate and careful as the Li family and take care of everything. Princess Kangol is the most cherished treasure of the Li family. As long as he opens his mouth today, his friendship with the Li family will probably come to an end. But thinking about the family's re-emergence and the stubbornness of his great-nephew, he couldn't care less. Today's update is here. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 980. Chapter 980, Relying on the Old Man and Showing Off His Shamelessness. Third Master, I came here today because I really have something to say. If you have offended me, please let me know. Mr. Tang put down his teacup with a very solemn expression. Li Lao-san quickly waved his hand, "Mr. Tang, just call me Hans Hung. If you have anything to say, just say it." Mr. Tang gritted his teeth, took a deep breath, and spoke. "Han Sheng, you should have heard the news. I have been asking many questions about the whereabouts of the Jiangbei tribe, but there has been no news. I originally thought that all the tribe members were killed, but I didn't expect to see my eldest brother's eldest grandson today." Mr. Tang was still a little excited when he talked about this. Li Lao-san was also happy for him and responded, "Oh, congratulations Mr. Tang, this is a great reunion." Mr. Tang nodded and said, "Speaking of which, this grandnephew is also related to your Li family. He is Muju, the guard of the princess. This child looks so much like my eldest brother when he was a boy. It can be said that he is exactly the same. He is absolutely the same, that's right. Our Mu family finally has no descendants, and thanks to God's mercy, there are still descendants who have escaped the catastrophe. As long as Muju marries a wife and has children, and revitalizes the Mu family, I will be able to live with my ancestors in the future." Lai Zong explained. Li Lao-san hesitated for a moment and nodded in agreement, but did not say a word. He considers himself to be the stupidest one in the family. He is not as thoughtful as his eldest brother, not as smooth and shrewd as his second brother, and not as brave as his fourth brother. But at the very least, he can still be cautious. Especially since this matter seems to involve my niece, I have to be more careful and not accept it easily. If I get into trouble for my niece, it will be him who is not the uncle." When Mr. Tang saw this, he felt a little anxious, so he simply made it clear. "Hans Hung, I want Muju to stay with me from now on. I want to teach him to read and take scientific examinations, and then marry a well-matched wife so that the family can flourish as early as possible. But this kid is stubborn. He remembers the Marquis' kindness for rescuing him in Jiangbei, and refuses to agree to it. He also wants to fulfill his promise and serve as the princess's guard for 3 years, and even. He paused, looked at Li Lao-san's face that turned pale, and said bravely, he even said that he and the Marquis had an agreement that he would marry the princess in the future. This child has taken a liking to the county. It is understandable that the young man was originally passionate, but our Mu family is in such decline now, and we are really not worthy of the princess. It is well known that everyone in your family loves the princess, and I am afraid that you are not willing to let the princess come to our Mu family to suffer hardships. So, Hans Hung, I want to ask you to go home and ask if you can let Muju go free. And let's let the joke-like engagement go. Of course, in order to thank you for taking care of Muju in your family, I will definitely give you a lot of thanks. Even at the Marquis' place, when he comes back from the expedition, I will personally come to thank him and apologize. Before he could finish speaking, Li Lao-san's face turned dark. This was said euphemistically, but he was not a fool, so he couldn't understand the twists and turns in it. He has no daughter, and he is really careful about his niece, whom he has loved and loved since childhood. The family has long discussed the niece's marriage, but every time there was no result. It was felt that no man in the world had the qualifications and ability to be entrusted with protecting his niece for the rest of her life. If you look at Muju alone, he is also a good boy. Since he can be favored by the Marquis, he must be a good candidate to be his niece's son-in-law. Otherwise, the Marquis would not have made such a rash agreement. But even the 10,000 advantages, now they all count because of the old man in front of me. Joke. What if the Li family hasn't chosen the Mu family yet? How dare a shabby family that is almost dead dare to despise their Li family's precious child? What's so high that you can't reach? Obviously they were afraid that the Li family would be so powerful that they would bully the only seedling of the Mu family. Why don't you want the princess to be wronged? Obviously he looks down on the daughter of the Li family and is afraid that she will not be able to live with the Mu family. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He snorted coldly, raised his chin, looked at Mr. Tang and said, I understand what Mr. Tang means. But I have a few words. I hope Mr. Tang will listen carefully. First, the princess is the only girl in our Li family. The whole family loves her like the apple of our eye. We have searched all over the world for her future husband-in-law, but we feel that all men are unsuitable. Therefore, our family has never made an agreement with anyone. Have a marriage. Sir, it's best not to talk to anyone about what you said today, otherwise we, the Li family, will never allow any gossip to spread and ruin the princess's reputation. Let's talk about the Marquis. He is a father of the princess. Everyone in Zindu knows that the Marquis treats the princess as his own daughter. He gave all his glory and the palace to the princess in his early years because he was afraid that the princess would be wronged. Presumably, if he wants to choose a husband for the princess, he must find a man with both parents. The elders are sensible and cannot just grab anyone. Therefore, even if he had a few jokes with someone in the past, it must have been under the influence of alcohol. Drunk talk, don't take it seriously. When the Marquis returns from the northern expedition, our Li family will tell the Marquis to be careful in what he says in the future. Mr. Tang did not expect that Li Lao-san, who had always been honest, would become really angry and speak so fiercely, with every sentence filled with threats and ridicule. He wanted to get angry, but because the Li family did not agree with the marriage, he reluctantly endured it. However, Li Lao-san ignored his expression and continued, secondly, our Li family never interferes in the marriage of our children. As long as the child likes the other person and feels that the other person is a lifelong lover, the family will support it to the end. To take a step back, if the princess really has a mutual affection with Muju and plans to join hands for a lifetime and share the wind and rain, then no one in the world can stop them from being together. Otherwise, neither I nor anyone in our Lee family will agree, not even you. If you think that Professor Grn has been able to tell the princess how to do things after just a few years of writing, then I believe that Grn would rather cut off his left hand and give it to you than sacrifice his sister's happiness. He picked up the teacup heavily and clinked it on the table. Old sir, go slowly, I won't send it away. Okay, very good. Mr. Tang's fingers trembled with anger. I originally did it for the benefit of the children of both families, but I didn't expect you to be so rude, so there's no need to say it again. After saying that, he got up and was about to go out. Li Lao-san added coldly, it's understandable that you have selfish motives, sir, but don't do it in the name of doing good for your children. I don't care what Muju thinks, but our Li family's children are loved by others, so no outsiders need to worry. Mr. Tang snorted heavily, stepped out of the threshold and stormed away. Daz's daughter-in-law, who was working in the kitchen, brought a plate of snacks. She originally wanted to bring them to the house, but she met Mr. Tang on the opposite side and was shocked when she saw him like this. She quickly walked to the door of the house and asked, "Third Master, what happened? Do you need help?" "No. I'll drive back to the Earl's mansion. You can take care of the canteen. If you have anything else to do, wait until I come back tomorrow," Li Lao-san said, and hurriedly hit the car and went home. Daz's wife shouted, "Third Master, it's already dark. If you leave now, you won't be able to enter the city gate." Today's update is here. End of this chapter.